Good afternoon, and welcome to Brooklyn College's brand new talk show, Tip of the Hat. I'm Bourne Rios, and today we have a very special guest. She is a softball player for Brooklyn College's women's sports team and an active sorority member at Brooklyn College as well, and a representative of the youth Puerto Rican community. Her name is Vida Rodriguez, and I'm sure she'll have a lot of interesting things to say when we get to the interview together with her later on. So, before we start, I'd like to introduce the show and what its main goals are. Tip of the Hat is a positivity-focused program that is meant to give students advice on mental wellness, activities that they can check out for themselves, either on campus or on their own, and promote more positivity and reassure the idea that campus life doesn't need to be all about stress and academics, but it can also be fun, and you could share that experience with many different talented young individuals. So before anything, I would like to go over a recap of some of the events that happened this week over at Brooklyn College. We recently had a welcome back event this last Thursday with the USG, where they gave out free sweaters and had some karaoke events as well. The theater production's first screening of their production Sinners was held at the Webb Building, and there were multiple kickoffs to different organizations and clubs around Brooklyn College to where students can get involved. Such examples were the Black History Month event held by the Black Student Union. The Hello Club held their open house and a Monopoly-themed event where they had board game-style introductions to the club's agendas and what they set out to do over the course of the semester. Lastly, the LGBTQ+ Resource Center and Immigrant Student Success Office held their open houses as well. All folks are welcome at Brooklyn College. These events promote unity and self-exploration in the form of fun activities, as well as campus open hours. With that, there were many other events that happened at Brooklyn College that you can check out on your own by visiting the website Bulldog Connection and downloading the app Campus Groups on any mobile device. With that being said, there are still many events that are coming up in the next few days over at Brooklyn College, and it is a segment that we would like to start calling Next Week's Specials. These are some of the highlights that I've discovered that were going on campus that I feel that our listeners could attend as well. Starting on Monday, February 9th, the Immigrant Student Success Office is holding a group study session in their office at 117 Roosevelt Hall for 12 to 5 p.m., complimented by free snacks. Come study, meet some peers, and connect with them to best tackle the semester in a great academic light. On Tuesday, February 10th, we will have a de-stressing event with crafts and laughs, and it will be held in the Alumni Room. Also, this coming Tuesday, the Accounting Society is holding a peer networking event on the 4th floor of the Student Center from 12 to 2 p.m. Make new connections in your respective field with other Brooklyn College students who are looking to reach for their own success as well. Learn some tips on how to tackle your career in the best light, and learn a bit more about your associative department in the school. The Computer Science Club will host a bake sale by the entrance to Boylan Cafeteria from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m., and the Immigrant Student Success Office will hold free yoga sessions at 205 West Quad from 4 to 5 p.m. Eat sweet treats and burn some toxins with the 1-2 punch of these events held next Tuesday. All these events and more, once again, are available on Bulldog Connection and on your Campus Group app. So, if you would like to learn more about these events and potentially RSVP for a few of your own, join them and sign up today. And come back and tell me how it was. All right. So, with that, we are entering my favorite part of the show. This will be the interview. We're going to interview an active member of the Brooklyn College community. She will talk about some of her personal accolades, what she represents in the community, and how she can connect with you all to possibly show you some more of the activities she's involved in and show you how you can contribute to your community as well. Please welcome Ms. Vida Rodriguez.
Hello, my name is Vida Rodriguez, and I am a third year student at Brooklyn College. I play on the softball team, and I'm also a physical education major and a Puerto Rican Latino studies minor. I am part of Omega Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and I'm the president of the chapter, and I'm also president of Greek Council. And I also represent softball in the Student Athletic Advisory Committee, which is a committee that meets with all different members of athletics. So I'm definitely part of a lot of groups and organizations on campus. And there are so many things that you mentioned, like Bulldog Connection is a great way to get access to different events going on campus. Instagram, social medias is definitely a great way to get in contact as well.
Lovely. What is your major of study and the reason for your choice, and some history behind why you chose it?
So my major is physical education, and I have played sports all my life, and I feel as though that I wanted the game in my life after the academics, so after high school and college. So I was recruited to come play, and my freshman year I was starting catcher. Last year as a sophomore I was starting third baseman, and then this year I'll be starting first. So if you know about sports, that's a utility player. For me, I play wherever the team needs me. It's about leadership. It's taught me a lot about mental toughness, using your resources. Our head coach knows about everyone in every single department, and the networking that we get from just being on the team and being in athletics, but then also all of the other things that correlate with one another. But yeah.
Wow. I'm sure that my listeners and I are listening to you talk about your position and your story behind joining Brooklyn College's team and wondering, how are you balancing that with your academics and with school life? That must be pretty difficult, no?
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a lot to manage, but I feel like time management, using planners, using your resources, it's a lot. I use digital forms like my computer and like a physical planner, but just making sure that, your time is valuable. So making sure that you're doing what you need to do, when it needs to be done, how it needs to be done. And that's kind of how, like, one of my coaches told me, if you move through life, that's how you can be successful, doing what you need to do, when you need to do it, how it needs to be done. So that's kind of how I roll, and it's just like, a lot of things every single day, but making sure that communication is important, timeliness, things like that, having priorities straight.
If you would like, I'm the kind of person who loves to get a clear picture of like what people are telling me, and I'm sure some of our listeners are as well. So would you be so kind as to go over what a typical week looks like for you? Like your routines, activities, time management skills?
Perfect. So for me, it's always a morning routine, just getting ready, and normally it's practice first, or any meetings that I might have. I schedule meetings earlier in the day because that's when I have my free time and when most other departments have their meeting times. And then I would go to practice. So for me as a student athlete, academics come first. So I do have class during practice hours, but I always make sure to make that first 30 minutes of practice and show my team, even as an upperclassman, I can still put in that time and that effort to be there and set up and, still work out on my own time to make sure that I'm adding what I can to the team, but also focusing on my academics because that is, the main reason why we're all here. But yeah, I feel throughout the week, it's always practice and then class and then any other extracurriculars, events. Common hours is normally 12:15 and 2:15 on like Tuesdays and Thursdays. But, when you check Bulldog Connection, the different clubs and events that are going on will state the times and places. And yeah, time management skills that I would say is definitely just like the planner, being aware of your distractions like the phones and the social medias. It can be a lot. They can be used for positive things, but then they can also be distractions in our life. So that's something for me personally I've gotten better at, is my consistency and discipline when it comes to the physical realm and mental and emotional. Being more consistent and disciplined with yourself allows you to move forward in your life and become better.
And through these examples and your experience and time in the physical education department at the school, how do you hope to get involved in physical activities, sports, and other types of places in that field post-college?
So for me, I do have a lot of personal connections to coaches through, high school or travel sports, and being able to coach is like my main final goal, coaching a high level of softball. But to answer your question, I feel like after graduating or after undergrad, I could potentially come back and be like an assistant coach for, the softball team. The program has been on a rise since I started here, and in another year or so, I'm going to graduate, and seeing the growth of the program and the athletics department as a whole, being able to be a part of that and come back. People love when you go back to your alma mater and give back to the community. So I feel like there's a lot of ways that I could give back, not only to my communities that I came from, but the community that I'm at right now, which is Brooklyn College.
And that leads me perfectly into asking you a question about community.
Mm-hmm.
We briefly touched upon how you're of Puerto Rican heritage, and I wanted to understand more about what being Puerto Rican means to you. Namely, how do you represent your Puerto Rican heritage on campus and outside of it?
So, like I mentioned before, I am a Puerto Rican Latino Studies minor, and I'm currently in a course for like a research methods class, and I'm doing research about Bad Bunny's residency on the island and how it's affecting Puerto Rico economically and culturally. So for me personally, I'm Puerto Rican from Brooklyn, and growing up, it was just always in the culture. I don't speak Spanish. I'm a no sabo, but I feel as though I'm still very connected and understand a lot in the classes that I've taken through the pros department. I have deeper connections to it because it's like from before me that I just came into it, where my mother is also from Brooklyn College and graduated, and that was her major, and they saw me when I was a baby, basically. A lot of the professors and people in that department seeing me in college now, it was kind of like a full circle moment, but being Puerto Rican is very important. Once upon a time, you couldn't even fly a Puerto Rican flag because it was illegal. So it's like, that's why Puerto Ricans have their flags on everything. But to be where you're from, anybody from anywhere, you should be proud of where you're from and, your heritage and your culture. So for me, getting that minor in pearls is important to me because it's something that I just grew up with and has been important all my life. And I have, batting gloves or arm sleeves of like the Puerto Rican flag. So it does kind of like mesh into all different areas of my life. And then that could lead me into PRA, the Puerto Rican Alliance. That's a club on campus, along with, a lot of these clubs do collaborations with other clubs. So you have BSU, Black Student Union, CSU, Caribbean Student Union. So you have all of these clubs that do things together. And that is kind of like a big thing on community and unity and doing things together and just being proud of who you are and where you're from.
I would like to throw in an extra detail and say that the clubs and organizations such as the Puerto Rican Alliance and Black and Latino Male Initiative, along with many others, are available also on Bulldog Connection and on campus groups. So at your behest, I would say it would be very good to get involved in those organizations and see how you find your place in them. I believe that these clubs have done a lot for helping students feel a sense of belonging in the campus environment and also help them feel more in touch with their culture and how it contributes to who they are. Which moves on to my next question. How does being Puerto Rican contribute to who you are?
I feel like it's in everything that we kind of like do and see from for me personally, like the music I listen to, the food that I eat, the life that I live is very like Puerto Rican. I don't know how else to describe it. You know what I mean? Like, coffee with cheese and crackers, or like arepas, or, the classic rice and beans. But also just like the roots of it, knowing that a lot of people don't know Puerto Ricans are created up of African, Taino, and European roots. So it's like we are all those things, and we are from the Caribbean, and we are also, there's a lot of Afro Puerto Ricans, and there's a lot of talk, especially in the Puerto Rican Latino studies classes that I've taken, a lot of topics on, the African diaspora, or Afro Latinidad, things like that. So it's very important to me, and just learning more about it, and that being something that I'm taking my classes in and learning more about each semester is just something that it means a lot to me.
And I take it that you're quite excited for this Sunday's halftime show performance.
Of course, everyone should be. Who knows what's gonna happen? I think it's gonna be great, especially with the fact that he had won all those Grammys, and just like the world is in uproar for him, and
the community by extension.
Exactly.
The Puerto Rican community is eating very well this year, and we only wish that they can eat well going forward.
Yeah, all year round.
And they got some good food.
For real.
So I also wanted to touch on your activity in Greek life and what you contribute to it as a leading member of your sorority.
Yeah, so Omega Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated is a national organization that was founded on March 15th, 1989 at SUNY Albany. And our philanthropy is raising awareness of violence against women. And we do have, mission statements and values, but the main components is academic excellence, community service, and sisterhood. Those are like three main pillars. Ensuring unity of all cultures, and just, it's something for me personally that I also have a personal connection to, because I'm a legacy, and my mother, when she was at this college, she also joined the same sorority, and it changed her life for the better. And I didn't know that I would do it. It wasn't like oh yeah, I want to be in a sorority. It was just like I had that personal connection and I did it, but it changed my life for the better. And I do have a network of women that is absolutely amazing. I'm an older sister myself, like biologically, so the fact that, there was very few older women in my life, except for my amazing mother, to look up to, having that sisterhood of women in every different possible field that you can imagine. Same thing with the fraternities and the brotherhood. Same kind of like idea of Greek life when it comes to, a lot of people think social, or like the parties, or the things like that. It's stereotypical what you see in the movies, but at least for our sorority and a lot of the sororities on campus and the fraternities on campus, what we do within the community is way on a much larger scale and on a more important level than, what's portrayed and what a lot of people think it is. But they all kind of have like the same premise of academic excellence, community service, and that brother and sisterhood.
What is your position in your sorority?
So I'm currently everything. I run membership, community relations, but my title is president of Lambda chapter at Brooklyn College.
And on the topic of something we discussed earlier about handling multiple responsibilities at once, leading all these organizations within your sorority, what's the magic behind that?
I feel like it's definitely been a drive and a motivation in me to like build up the chapter, build up a specific community. But it's on a larger scale. So the fact that I'm also president of Greek Council, that's the council where all of the sororities and fraternities get together and, we hold events, or we'll collab with other organizations and clubs on campus to do community services and things like that. But I feel like the magic behind it is really communication, knowing where you stand personally, knowing if you can uh, do a good job at what you're doing. And I've learned a lot, and I still have so much more to learn on my leading and how I can facilitate, or debriefing, all those other things that come with being a leader in these spaces. I feel like I've been able to teach and learn, but I feel like it has to be something that you want to do. If you ever participate in something, you have to put in 100% effort. You have to make it worthwhile. You have to be there with a purpose to actually make whatever the vision of the club or the program come to life. That's what you kind of have to have that passion for it if you're going to be doing things like this. So I think that for me personally, in everything that I do, I have the passion, and especially in the springtime, my passion is sports, but then year round it will always be community service and seeing and spending time with my sisters, who are some of the most important people in my life. And yeah, I feel like that's some of the most important parts of that.
Have you always identified with these philosophies, or did some of them come in over your time at Brooklyn College?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it has been, a lot of who you are is how you grow up. So for me, I grew up with certain sayings, like don't be sorry, be responsible, just certain ideologies and philosophies, or, ways of living, you could say. But as I've gotten older and through my time at Brooklyn College, I've kind of made my own discoveries and, decisions on how to move through things and be the leader that I am. So I do think that it's been a journey of finding out myself, but also what I've grown up with and what I know to be, right, and doing the things that are important with passion and effort.
And let's say that the light isn't so bright. Sometime, as we all know, we hit our dark points when we're tackling work, possibly our social lives, and in your case, leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Setting an example for many different people, for your sisters, for your sisterhood at the fraternity, and also for your community. When those moments get a little bit too close to you, how do you get yourself out of those overwhelming times?
So I feel like to get out of overwhelming times, or, the times where it's hard to do your work and focus on the things that you need to do, I would say just focusing on the things that are important, your health, your mental health, taking care of yourself first so that you can perform in other areas of your life. Because if you're not eating right, or you're not sleeping right, or you're not doing the important things that you need to do for yourself as a human being, you won't be able to perform in school or at work or on the field or on the court. So it's like you really have to take care of yourself. Therapy is a great thing and a great outlet for a lot of people. You don't always have to either hold it in or, just talk to your friends about it one time and then it go away. Sometimes you need to work through things, whether it's something, very difficult and serious, or whether it's something that, everyone has different circumstances and goes through different things. And there's also a lot of resources for that at Brooklyn College. You have the counseling department, and you have, the programs and initiatives like BLMI and just other things throughout the school that can, be found.
Well, as many of you probably guess, we weren't going to kick off this show with anything less. Vida, you sound like an extraordinary part of Brooklyn College's community, and it was amazing to hear your story and the different parts of campus life and your culture that make you who you are. For any students who might be interested in connecting with you, do you have any pages or any places where they can get in touch?
Yeah, so for professional reach outs, it could be LinkedIn. My name is Vida, Vida Rodriguez. I think people know how to spell Rodriguez. But and also on Instagram and TikTok, it's Vida, Vida, MIA .0909.
And of course, so that our listeners don't need to rewind, we'll link you on any websites that this episode will go up in, so they'll be able to reach you just fine. I believe you also wanted to ask a bit about my involvement with the show as well, and where I stand. Take it away.
Yes, I wanted to ask you where are you from, who are you, and what made you decide to be the host for the show?
Um, well, the person that I am is just someone who wants to bring positivity into as many people's lives as I could. I'm also part Puerto Rican, but I'm also combined with an Estonian and Russian heritage that I am excited to explore and discover throughout the course of my life. Um, Aside from that, I'm also very involved in creative projects. I dabbled in many different fields of creative expression, songwriting, music production, composition, and now podcasting and radio. And part of why I'm here at Brooklyn College is to utilize my resources and my connections to express as many different forms of media, communication, and self-expression as I can. I feel like that's sort of my light. Something that I like to discuss with people is not just about when the times are all good, but also when they can dip, and you need to find solutions to reinvent yourself, make something new of your situation and the world around you. And I believe that doing it through creative expression has helped me a lot in not only assisting in my life's path, but also many others. And I hope that my story and this show, by extension, could be a very helpful resource to people who also want to find their means of finding personal
Belonging.
levity.
Hmm.
Personal belonging, but also I think levity is a good word because, it's easy. It's like throughout my time at Brooklyn College, I've heard many people talk about how their academic stresses, their personal lives get to them, and how there aren't that many helpful resources around the school that are put in front of students' faces for them to truly grasp and utilize. There are many places such as the Student Help Center over at the Student Center down the block from us that help students. But I think that getting this information more public, more out in the open, and telling and reassuring students that there are places where they can feel both belonging, but also that personal levity that they will need throughout their time at college and outside of it as well, is always within reach, and they're worth the effort to chase it.
I agree.
But before we end off, I would like to thank everybody who was involved with the making of this show. I would like to thank WBCR first and foremost for allowing us to, make this whole thing. This is very special to me, and I'm so glad to share this project with everybody who came to listen today, and they are a big part of making this happen. I would also like to thank SAIL and USG, the two departments who provided me with the examples and ideas to include in the show. I would, of course, love to thank Ms. Vita Rodriguez for coming on and being the show's very first guest interviewee. Your story is absolutely inspiring, and you're an amazing person, Vita.
Thank you, Bourne. You're also an amazing person.
And I'd also like to thank the designer for the logo for this show. I will link their Instagram on wherever this goes up. And yeah, a lot of different people came together to make this happen, and I could not appreciate them more for it, and only hope to show that with subsequent episodes and more stories to tell. With that, I'd like to leave off with a quote that I found very helpful for my journey, which is, "The greatest opportunities for personal growth can only occur in the presence of great discomfort. Don't think of discomfort as a universal negative, but as a galaxy of opportunity." With that, I tip my hat off to all of you. I wish you a wonderful week going forward, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.